Okay, well, it is 5:30 and it's time to get this show on the road. I am Robin Miller and I'm the president and CEO for the Tampa Bay Beaches Chamber of Commerce. And I'm happy to be here today to moderate our mayoral forum for the city of Madeira Beach. I am actually going to go over some housekeeping before we get started this evening. First of all, we ask that any member of the audience would refrain from any loud comments. Sometimes we have done this and there's been some shouting. And so if you have a question, you can write it on a sheet and hand it to me. And we will respect each party here and allow them to answer their questions respectfully. The forum will start off with a maximum of a 7-minute opening comments from each candidate. The buzzer will ring at a 5-minute, that means a 2-minute warning. And then we will go into the questions. The chamber did receive some questions ahead of time. Each candidate will have 3 minutes to answer those questions. Those that have attended these before, we know we are very adamant on when the buzzer goes off, we finish our sentence. And then at closing, there will be a 5-minute closing by each candidate. Do I have any questions from the candidates at this point before we get started? No. So, all right. So we will start over here with Jim to do your 7-minute opening. And let me get my buzzer ready. I'm actually the tech buzzer person and the moderator today. I'm excited. So you can go ahead, Jim.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Jim Rostek. My wife and I are permanent residents and real property owners, property taxpayers, as I'm sure my opponent is. We lived here since 2015. I'm a retired paramedic fire captain, 40 years of volunteer and combined career service. Also a retired business owner of 20 years. My areas of expertise are budget preparation, strategic planning, policy development, evaluation, and implementation. Additionally, I was a mid-level manager, public information officer, fire officer, in essence, a public servant. This background and experience will help to better serve our city. Why have I chosen to run? There are issues with the daily wasting of our taxpayers' dollars as evidenced below, and I'll talk about those. There is a continued lack of communication and transparency within city departments to the citizens. The citizens' comments are regularly ignored at BOC meetings, not acted on by some of the commission. And I fully understand the 3-minute rule. And that's one of the things that's in the mayor's handbook that I will change because it's unfair to the citizens. There are some departments within the city that appear to need refocusing and mentoring, as there appears to be some dysfunctionality. Some within the city have forgotten who's at the top of the city's organizational chart, and it's everybody out here, the citizens within the city. They're over top the Board of Commissioners. At times, it appears the citizens are kicked to the curb on a regular basis by some of the commission. First, let's talk about some of the wasteful spending that's currently in the budget as we speak. Now code enforcement wants to spend $50K on a boat. I guess they're going to chase illegal crabs around. I'm really not sure. Additionally, 20 more thousand for a boat lift. City Hall, the bottom floor was just built out, and now we're coming back to the table and want to spend another $150,000. They want to build a break room for code enforcement. It's in the budget. I can't make this stuff up. Past budget, same administration, spent on a consulting firm to see if a high and dry building concept could be built on city marina property. The city manager looked into this, and that due to deed restrictions, what the consulting firm said that could happen, the city manager was smart enough to look into this, and with the different deeds that were bequeathed over to the city, none of that can happen. So again, now we wasted another $50K. The Healy consulting contract with the city. Now the city has their own highly compensated team within the planning department. The city elected to hire an outside firm That account that this entity was paid from is capped at 30K prior to commission approval. If it goes over that, there needs to be commission approval. It went over $46,000. The commission was never notified till after the fact. Who's responsible for this huge monetary mistake? Again, that's our taxpayers' money being urinated away. Recent BOC workshop, generator replacement for the stormwater station. Statements were made that are on the record, the fuel tank is rusted and needs replacement. The unit is near the end of its life, but the engine hours are low. But we're going to get the fuel tank fixed and use it at the marina, but buy a new generator and spend another $70,000 or $80,000. Also in the budget is $200,000 for dog park synthetic turf and other upgrades. It's in the budget. It is in the budget. Let's talk about employees for just a second. FY 2022, there were 77.97 FTEs. I'm assuming that acronym means full-time employees. In fiscal 2023, there's now 80.81, an increase of 2.84 personnel. Why? If you use an average of 4,000 residents, divide that number by the number of employees, that equals there's one employee for every 49.4 residents, or I rounded it up to 50. So there's one employee for every 50 residents walking around Madeira Beach.
That's your 2-minute warning.
Okay. All right, we're gonna have to jump ahead then. And we'll come back to a couple things. A couple of things I would like to see in the city manager's monthly report to include a brief accounting of all incoming and outgoing financial transactions to avoid another Healy debacle. Transparency of where your money is being spent. I would like greater citizen involvement in all areas. How about a citizen advisory panel with in-person meetings or via email? I profess to build within the confines of current zoning laws and ordinances. Additionally, with building, I would like to see the use of super silt fence used in any areas where there's potential for runoff. When it comes to development, foster a mindset of, are the decisions being made that meet the needs of the developer, the city, and the citizens? Find the common ground so everyone can embrace and support the plan. I am all for, and obviously this would have to go through the city manager, a program for same-day permits. If you walk in with the proper paperwork and it's a simple permit,
30
walk
seconds.
out with that permit. Resident parking permits. Currently, residents who rent their homes out cannot get these passes. However, they pay taxes and own real property. The stickers cannot be transferred and move between vehicles. Give them what they need, the stickers. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Andrews?
Thank you, Robin. Always good to see you. And before we get started, thank you for you and your staff and for the city staff for putting this together. Always a fun event. And I hope by the end, everybody gets the information they need in order to make a proper choice. I had a different opening planned. Unfortunately, my opponent just went line item by line item down a budget sheet without any background or any information regarding that. That's pretty easy to do, to play Monday morning quarterback and do that. But in a city like this, it takes money to run the city. Okay. That's why we have professionals that put together a budget. They bring it to us. They present their budget numbers and why they're doing certain things. And then it comes forth to us. And I guess if my opponent had attended more meetings or went to the budget meetings, he'd probably know why we were spending the money we were spending. Okay. And I don't play deflect politics, but if you want to talk about wasteful spending, we could sit here all day long and talk about the debacle of 2017 and the people that came here and ran the city. I'm not going to go there. But anyway, what I did want to do, I want to point out a couple of things. Number one, I want to give a couple of shout outs. The first one to the guy that normally sits at the end of that podium over there. Dave Hudson has been an absolute godsend to the city. All right. Dave and I don't agree on everything and all along the lines of that. But he is the model for what a first-term commissioner should be. He came in, he knew what he didn't know. And I think that's a lot of that is, you can't just come in here and start making proclamations without doing any research and doing any homework behind the issues that are involving in this city, okay? Reading down a budget sheet does not make you knowledgeable of what's going on here, okay? 77.9, do you know what each employee does, okay? The employee morale in this city right now is at an all-time high. Not even close to what it was even a couple of years ago. And it all goes, Rem. And I'll be honest, you can talk about this all day long. After the debacle that happened, we went through 4 city managers in 3 years, right? One worse than the next. And then, we get a guy like Robin Gomez who comes in, defines who he is, builds employee morale, gets the garbage out, brings in good people who are knowledgeable about what goes on in the city. And you got to remember, I think my opponent's under the impression that we're in a strong mayor government. We're not, okay? The mayor, and I don't want to insult the lovely gentleman here in front of me, but the mayor runs the meetings. His vote really doesn't count unless there's a 2-2 tie because he's the last person to vote, okay? And he throws out the first pitch at Little League. Now, John did a lot more than that. I got to give him credit, and I'm about to give him his props here in a second. But getting back to Dave just did a remarkable job. I loved what he did. He learned, then he contributed. And again, we didn't agree on everything, but he was the model of what, and I see Ed here tonight, and I don't know if Anne Marie's around, but that's the guy you need to follow on how we went about doing things. The other shout I need to give is to our mayor. And I mean, he brought back dignity and respect to the mayoral position in this city. We were the laughing stock of the beaches. And if you need any proof, you could have picked up the Beach Beacon 5 years ago. Every darn edition had us on the front cover being the dysfunctional children of this beach community. John, with his dignified Southern charm, not only brought back dignity, he just absolutely embraced the role, went out and made contacts at the local, the county, the state level, okay, in order to get us funding for certain things. And really, and you can't understate the fact that he brought us through COVID with just such grace and dignity. And, there's a lot to be said for that, guys. We were in a dark time before he got here, and all of a sudden he took over and we are pointing in the right direction. So the difference between my opponent and I is very simple. This election should be easy as far as your stance. The city's on a great trajectory right now, okay? Financially, we're sound because we're making fiscal responsible decisions. Giving reports to these things that he's talking about are already in existence. If you want a report, they're all online. You can go and, the citizens elect the board up here to legislate the city. That's what we're here to do, okay? We take calls from everybody. More than 3 minutes, we'll be here. You know what? We had a 5-hour meeting the other night. If we let this thing go to unlimited time limit, we'd be here all night. And guess what? If you take note of what people are saying, or people want to have private meetings, I don't know anybody who's turned down a private meeting with anybody. So, it's disappointing to hear that stance, because I think if you really look at this closely, this is a great city. We're going in the right direction. We're doing the right things. And, I think that has to be really made accountable for. Truthfully, I'll just wait for the other questions, because I think we'll touch on a lot of things I was going to touch on during it, and I'll wait for my closing.
Are you sure? Because I can't bank your minutes. I'm
Good,
joking.
Robin, thank you very much.
Thank you. Great, thank you. Am I okay with leaving the candidates to be seen on the TV screen? I had a couple people say they wanted them to stand up. We all okay with that? Yeah, okay, thank you. Right, but you can see the screens, right? Okay, thank you. Okay, so we're gonna get into some questions here. We had a lot of redundancy, so I'm doing my best to consolidate them into a question that you would understand. And since we started with candidate Rostek, we will start with candidate Andrews with the first question. How do you balance the need for redevelopment in light of population growth and increased popularity with the desires of residents who want to manage this growth? And then, hold on, let me get your timer started. Understand the question? Go ahead.
Oh, I'm stunned. I wasn't expecting a development question.
Me either.
That one kind of ran by me. Okay, so let's get a few things on the table and let's get a few things straight, okay? We have a system in place that limits development, okay? Just limits development. And, you know, I'm being cast as this pro-development guy and all, but I've been on the board for 4 years. Please name the projects that I've approved that have been outside the scope of what we've done, okay? You know, I think we're all on the same page and I think we're all missing the point. Nobody here wants Clearwater Beach. I've never even seen a project that was 25 stories that came through here. I've never seen a project that was half that size, regardless of what some people put online. Nobody wants that. Nobody wants overdevelopment. Nobody wants to turn into Clearwater Beach. The other portion is, and then we'll probably get to the Johns Pass Activity Center at some point here tonight, but we are not, look me in the eye, okay, and this isn't my George Bush, there are no new taxes, read my lips. We are not bulldozing Johns Pass Village to build an enclave of 15 hotels, okay? Think about it when you say that, 15 hotels. Let's look over to the Cambria over there next door. The Cambria has 125 rooms, okay? I'm not a mathematician. That would be 15 Cambrias in Johns Pass Village. Is that even possible? Of course it's not, okay? That's not the purpose of that, okay? Everybody gets all lathered up about this, but you gotta keep thinking positively and keep going in the right direction. What happens in this process? Like I said, only one thing that's been approved in the past 4 years since I've been on the board. The process is simple. We have professionals. Mr. Rostek doesn't seem to like the people we have working here or seem to respect their opinion, but we have professionals that in our planning and zoning department that take these suggestions. And guess what? Nobody's ever come with a 25-story one because they get laughed out of the building. They take these planned developments, they analyze them, they go through them. Most of them get tossed out. The ones that don't, the ones they've analyzed for a long period of time, then go to our planning commission, okay? Our planning commission then gets a presentation. They go through it in a meeting, and their meetings are 3-4 hours long in order to dot all the I's and cross all the T's. If all of that is approved, then it comes to us, okay? If you look at what's been approved and what's been talked about,
30 seconds.
okay, all I can tell you is, where were all these people in the early 80s when the 11-story building across this on the road was built over parking, okay? I don't want that. I don't want that either. But nothing that's been proposed is anywhere near that. So everybody kind of needs to chill out and let's see what the development comes before everybody just starts reading online and starts deciding, this is good, this is bad, this is indifferent. Take them piece by piece and let your legislators take your opinions and decide for you. Thank you.
Do I need to reread the question for you?
Please.
How do you balance the need for redevelopment in light of population growth and increased popularity with the desires of residents who want to manage this growth?
All right. Well, I think the very first thing that would have to be looked at is infrastructure. Does our sewer system, does our water supply, electrical grid, can that support any type of expansion? I'm still waiting for information back from Pinellas County. Madeira Beach couldn't provide that information. I understand. From there are laws and ordinances in place to protect the residents, called the zoning code, setbacks, height restrictions, et cetera, et cetera. I think where the problem comes into play is with the PD zoning. And it's any time that you go with the PD zoning, it's got to be a three-way street. It's got to be what the developer wants. They bought the property. They have the legal right and the financial capabilities to build. From there, it's got to meet the city's requirements. But the citizens have to have say in this also, because the PD zoning allows you to circumvent the various setbacks, height restrictions, and other requirements that are in the particular zoning codes. So unfortunately, with what happens with most of these, the PD zoning, the residents find out about it and all they have is 3 minutes to talk at a commission meeting and then they're shut down. There has to be more resident input, which is going to give you buy-in. And that's what everybody needs. Everybody has to feel that they've had some input into this, into that decision, And that decision meets the needs of all three, the developer, the city, and the residents. And obviously, the infrastructure can support it or not. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. We're going to start with you on this second question, which has already been slightly mentioned, but we knew it was coming up. What is your position on the Johns Pass Village Activity Center designation, and how do you support your position as it impacts the residents of the city? If you feel it impacts the residents of the city.
Oh, it absolutely does impact.
Hold on, let me start your timer. Go ahead.
It absolutely does impact everyone in the city from a traffic standpoint, from an infrastructure standpoint. My personal stance on it, if some of the commissioners are still having conflict with it because it is such a massive undertaking, then it needs to be broken down into smaller increments. The biggest gripe I have with it, and this is Jim talking, is the fact we're talking about the Johns Pass Activity Center. Why did it come outside of Johns Pass? That is one of the things that the residents don't understand. And it makes perfect good sense that it be encompassed within Johns Pass only and not start approaching residential areas.
You have 2 minutes. Do you have anything else to share?
I don't.
Okay. Commissioner Andrews?
Thank you, Robin. You know, this is a really interesting topic, because if you've really followed this, and I blame the internet a lot for this because of the misinformation that's been thrown out there and the mean words that have been said and the likes of that. Let's get something perfectly straight, okay? Absolutely no building, no parking garages, no anything was approved in this Johns Pass Activity Center. Nothing. All this is, okay? And if you actually read the topic in the workshop and then the votes, the Johns Pass Activity Center is a designation, okay? Let's get it straight. Designation. It is not the right to build 1,880 hotel rooms. That's not what it is. It's a designation. What the designation is for is to protect the uniqueness and the character, okay, of Johns Pass Village, period. That's what it was done, okay? We brought in one of the most renowned Pinellas County zoning people in Dave Healy to help us with this project, okay? This is not a new designation, guys. There's 26 activity zones in Pinellas County. What we should be questioning is, why wasn't Johns Pass one of these prior to that? Okay, we have activity zones in Treasure Island, St. Pete Beach, downtown St. Pete, Clearwater, Indian Rocks. All of them are activity zones. Not one building was approved during this approval process, okay? It was to protect, you know, that's why you got the buy-in from all the owners down there in Johns Pass. Do you know how tough it would be? Because there's multiple owners of all these buildings down there, for you to take over the whole Johns Pass and to bulldoze it. It would be impossible. They're not all going to sell, okay? If what happened in Fort Myers Beach happens in Johns Pass and we do get approved, by the way, nothing's been approved. This was us going to the county asking for this designation. They will vote on it. We will see where we come up with, okay? So there was no reason for everybody to get all up in a lather about it, saying our infrastructure is going to be damaged, or we're going to be overbuilding and the traffic's going to get worse. No, it's not. It's a designation, okay? And everybody really needs to understand that going forward. It just, like I said,
30 seconds.
yeah, it really is frustrating, because it's also part of the process, okay? These guys worked on this for 2 years, okay? Then it went to our Planning and Zoning Commission, which approved it with one vote saying no, and it's only because you want it to be bigger, want to encompass more land. And then it came to the commission and it passed, okay? Guys, it's a designation. That's it. Thank you.
Okay, and we will start with you, Commissioner Andrews. Sorry, we're bouncing 2 in a row there, but just the 2 of you, this is all we can do unless I start pulling straws. So the next question, I'm gonna change this up a little bit. We could probably speak about redevelopment for the full hour. So this question, I'm trying to take 4 questions into one here. Do you own property, pay property taxes, and or own a business in Madeira Beach? And if so, do you pay property taxes? So what I'm hearing the questions is basically, do you own property, pay property taxes, or own a business and property and taxes? What's your contribution?
That's a great question. So anybody who knows me knows that I have rented the same place for 12 years. I moved here from Virginia. I was selling a house. I rented a spot, and frankly, I probably should have bought something years ago, but truthfully, I bought a business instead. And I love my landlords. They're great to me. I don't have to cut my lawn. I don't have to take care of the pool. So I'm very comfortable where I live. Okay. I pay quite a high rent rate, and my landlord does pay property taxes to the city, which are pretty substantial. Now, as far as my business, I have what ends up being, I had a 10-year contract with my franchise at 7-Eleven. They came to me about 7 years in and re-upped me for an additional 15. So I have basically a 22 and a half year lease with 7-Eleven for a property that they own on Gulf Boulevard. Now, does 7-Eleven generate any revenue from my property? No, the only revenue they generate is the franchise fees that I pay them. So they pay quite a substantial property tax to the city. Okay, I pay my business tax licenses. I do everything along the lines of that. I think I contribute quite greatly to the community, but to answer the original question, no, I do not own property here currently.
Thank you. Candidate Rostic?
Yes. No, you don't have to repeat the question.
Okay.
Yes, my wife and I do own real property in Madeira Beach. We're permanent residents here, and the property taxes are very high. It's really that simple. We own property, we pay our taxes. We're residents, we're voters.
Great. Okay. Candidate Rostek? I'm going to combine something, so if I need to repeat, please let me know. What's the true role of a mayor? It seems that there are differences of opinions between both candidates on duties, powers, and responsibilities. And I'm going to add to that to say, in addition, how would you lead to create the balance within the city as a result of your definition?
The
Ready?
true, you ready? The true role is I'm a legislative body, and I understand that legislative body hires the city manager who runs the city. So whenever we have issues, we can go to the city manager and he can intervene. Our duties are as a legislative body to vote on various items that come before the Board of Commissioners. Usually there's discussions prior to that at the Board of Commissioners workshops. How I would lead by example, just like I did in the fire service. I'm an ethical person. There will be no special favors. It's by the letter of the law, and that's just the way it would have to be.
You have 2 minutes
I'm
left.
good. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Andrews?
Well, I kind of already addressed this a little earlier, and like I said, it's not, there are some other responsibilities than the one I was joking around about earlier. There are some county meetings that need to be attended to, and you're the figurehead and you're the face of the franchise. But I think either somebody has informed my opponent that that he is not, this isn't a strong mayor government. If you read his pamphlet, his call to action is, requiring fiscal responsibility. Lack of fiscal responsibility is the issue. We don't have a lack of fiscal responsibility. we're required every year by the state to file what's called, what used to be called a CAPFA report. Believe it or not, somebody thought that those initials were racist. So they have since changed it to the ACFR report. But it's comprehensive financial annual report filed every year with the state. We have an auditor that comes in that we pay, that goes through line item by line item in the city, and we pass with flying colors every year. So we don't lack fiscal responsibility. Staff accountability. The mayor is not responsible all but for 4 employees in this city, okay? Staff accountability is on Mr. Gomez, okay? And me personally, I think our staff is phenomenal and 10 times better than it was even just 3-4 years ago. Input from citizens disregarded by staff. I would need an example of that because I think our staff, if you saw the questions that were asked, I think our staff does an amazing job doing this. Inability of city government to be transparent. Robin puts out a report every month detailing exactly what we're doing and where we're going and where we're headed. Ineffective code enforcement. I was part of the recruitment process to get Pat Krager back here, who is an absolute bulldog, and we are correcting all the problems that were from the past. Remember, guys, we were in a dark age for a long time. Nothing got done. But there's a couple other things. Promote the lowering of account limits. Why would you do that? Everything costs more now. We approve a budget so that our staff can be professionals and go and do and work on different projects. There are certain accounts or certain things that they're doing that are above the threshold, and they bring it to us. But besides that, let these people, they're the professionals, okay? We're the legislators. Let them do their jobs. But this is the big
30
one,
seconds.
okay? The commissioners have the option of attending any and all staff meetings. That is not the job of the mayor. That's the job of the commissioner. That is our city manager's job. We are not a strong mayor community, okay? And you can't come in here like a bull in a china shop and pretend to change this and change our charter without proper authority. Thank you.
So as a result of your answers, I've actually created a question, and it's going to be different to each of you because of your varying responses in the last several questions. So Commissioner Andrews, my question to you is, you've let us know what's right with the city and the great things in the city. So tell us if you think there's something that's not right or wrong in the city.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah, of course. Look, I mean, we're not perfect yet. Okay. We probably never will be. Would I like it if when it rains really hard that the streets don't flood? Of course. Okay. But that has nothing to do with what we do. We're at sea level. Okay. When we have a king tide and it rolls up on us, we're going to get flooding. I don't care. We could have the biggest pipe in the world going back out to the Gulf. When the water comes up above where we are, we're going to get flooding. Okay. So that would be a great thing to do. We kind of made a mistake, I think, in the Boca Ciega project back there when we did that pervious pavement. We didn't make a mistake. We just didn't have the equipment or the staff that pervious pavement would have been great. But what happened was we just didn't do the street sweeping on the regular basis, and the holes got clogged and it just ran off onto the side of the road. Okay. My store's back there. I know this firsthand and I've seen it. So would I have wanted to do that a little differently and look back? Sure. It'd be easy, but it's easy to play Monday morning quarterback. Easy to go through a budget and say, this line item stinks. But when you don't even know what it is. As far as, code enforcement is a good question because I think that, we're going in the right direction with that. I think the same day permit thing, our restrictions and our laws are way too complicated for somebody to walk in with a permit and walk out that next day. It's got to be reviewed. Okay. And once it's reviewed, is our permit process too long? Mea culpa. Yeah, it is. And we've had some staff issues and I think we've corrected those. And I think going forward, it'll be a little better. But yeah, I think those would be the areas that I would focus on right now. I think that for the most part, the city's running way better than it probably ever has in my time here. Our streets are safe, our kids are safe. That's kind of our responsibility, the safety and well-being of our constituents.
Yeah, and a minute left. You good? So you have indicated in your answers definitely what you feel is wrong with the city and government. So what do you think is right with the city?
The majority of things run like a squeaky wheel out here that it's bad analogy. Things run very smoothly. Parks and Recreation, the city manager's office, great guy, does a wonderful job. Trash collection, couldn't ask for better workers there. The beach is very clean 100% of the time. The workers out there on the beach do a fantastic job. Our waterways are great. The marina functions without fail. What else? That's all I have on that. Other than a few of the minor issues that I've previously spoken about, everything else runs fine in the city.
Thank you. You have a minute 50, you sure?
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay. Couple times a year, we like to celebrate in this city in a bigger fashion. Great utilization of Rock Park always with events, but sometimes those events involve fireworks. Sometimes we have no events and they're fireworks. So I've got the question a few times and we will start with you, candidate Rostek. What is your position on the private use of fireworks in the city?
Honestly, it's a safety hazard. Coming from a safety background, probably not the wisest thing to allow. It's going to happen. I know the sheriff does not respond to 911 calls for fireworks activity. It should really be left up to professionals. So as all of our residents that are out there partying, having a good time, go home with all of their appendages. Along with that, the cleanup that happens that the city is responsible for, that we fire these off. And it's great around here on the 4th of July because you can sit in one place and have a 360 display of things going off for hours. It is troublesome for some animals though, that they can get quite upset with the fireworks. So I would say leave it to the professionals. That way everybody goes home in one piece.
Mr. Andrews?
Fireworks is an interesting topic for me because about 4 years ago, we had a discussion on fireworks and we paid for a barge and then all of a sudden the fireworks got shot off from the school and I questioned where the $17,000 went. So yeah, I got a little hot that night. So there might be a YouTube clip somewhere about that. So yeah, I kind of tend to get a little antsy about fireworks displays. Jim's 1,000% correct. I mean, it is a safety hazard. It is an issue. I agree 100% animal wise. It's tough to regulate it though. I mean, that's the problem. I mean, we have a couple laws on the books that are great laws. I mean, when you talk about the littering laws and the dog laws, dogs on the beach and fireworks, they're, we don't allow fireworks to be shot off by individuals. The problem is if you've ever had the opportunity, and I would put on a football helmet if you're going to do it, but the opportunity to walk down the beach at about 9:30 on 4th of July evening, it's a heck of a show, okay? But it's being handled by a bunch of people that have probably been spending too much time in the sun, having a couple too many adult beverages. So what do? Well, we've talked about this, and this has been a topic of discussion on the board. Do we hire a separate police force? Well, that would be a great idea, except for the fact that on 4th of July, if you're there's so many events going on. If we were to try to hire any kind of deputies or any kind of extra security to comb our beaches, I think Sheriff Gualtieri probably laugh at us that they'd never be able to enforce it. And number two, it would cost the city a fortune to do so. But I agree, it's a problem that we have. It's a problem that I would like to be able to solve. And if we want citizen input, I think this is a great subject for citizen input to be on because I would love to have a solution for this. Thank you.
Well, especially for transparency that the state allows fireworks on 3 days of the year. Well, thank you. Let's talk about the organization of the city and staffing. So both of you have commented in the last 30 to 40 minutes in your comments regarding staff, whether there's great staff, enough staff, too much staff, overfunded staff. So I'm going to just say, from your position, and we'll start with you, Commissioner Andrews, do you see any opportunity as it relates to the organizational chart of staffing?
Thanks, Robin. So with staffing, remember, okay, we don't handle staffing, okay? We have 4 employees. We have the city attorney, we have the city manager, we have the city clerk, and we have the city treasurer, okay? Those are the 4 employees that we manage or we control, hire and fire, for that example. This problem, staffing problem, first of all, our staff right now is rock stars. You're not gonna hear me say a bad word, but we've come a long way. And I don't play revisionist history, but I'll take you back a little bit here. So in 2017, there was a group that got elected that came in after storming the streets showing pictures of the Hyatt in Clearwater saying, this is what's coming to Madeira Beach. And they kind of took over the election. It was the worst move for the city because then the following day, their supporters sent out an email with a hit list. And basically they took out every employee, okay, that had every department head was gone. Okay, so the city had to start all over. And instead of trying to hire the best person for the job, they hired people from the outside looking in. They got rid of Dave Marsicano, for example, who was here for 17 years, ran Public Works, ran the marina, and basically, after being here 17 years, kind of knew where all the bodies were buried. And we got rid of that type of talent. The marina, the high and dry that Jim made the comment about the $50,000. If Dave was here, we would have never gotten down that road that far. He knew what this was all about. He knew what the plans were and the plots were, and we would have never spent that money. But we got rid of the type of talent that we need in order to go forward. I think I'll agree with Jim on one point. I mean, I don't know how you can say everything in the city's working perfectly and then take shots that there's a lack of a can-do attitude. It doesn't seem, it's kind of a contradiction. I think this staff now, after we've gotten rid of the people that needed to go, because they were all part of the collusion and the corruption that was going on, this staff is amazing. They really are. And because what we did, instead of hiring from the outside and bringing people who didn't know what was going on, we recruited from within. We got rid of the corrupt fire chief and bought Clint right up the ladder, who's been here forever. We, at the rec center, when I got canned, Jay stepped in, he was my right-hand guy. Not a step was lost. Megan, they finally gave Megan the job at the marina. At Public Works, after she was Dave's right-hand person for a while, okay? All of
30
these
seconds.
things, yes, all of these things contribute to a good staff and good continuity. So whatever can-do attitude my opponent's talking about, I really don't know where he's coming from. Robin, by the way, is just a rock star. He's doing such a great job. I can't say it enough. Thank you, Mr. Donos.
And you're a go.
Would you repeat the question?
I will. We talked a lot about staffing and the organizational chart. Where do you see opportunities as it relates to staffing?
The potential opportunities that I potentially see in some areas, I believe some people can be cross-trained to do multiple tasks. I see that the fire chief has an executive assistant full-time, but we're talking about a single fire station with minimal staffing, that maybe a person in that position could help out in other areas, and maybe they're doing that now and I am unaware. The majority of the departments are just fine. The issues I have heard with my walking campaign all deal with 2 areas: building department, planning and zoning. That is, I heard that probably 100 times, that when you go to get a permit, it's painful. To apply for a permit should not be a process that you cringe, where you have to go in there and process the paperwork. Public safety, the fire department's top notch, the city clerk's office, city manager, city attorney, public works director, the marina, parks and recreation. Everything in the city looks fine. Everything's manicured. It always looks good. The street sweeper's doing what it can with the pervious surfaces, although it's filled up with sand and it's not working the way it should even on our street now, but it's better than it was before. So I think some possible utilization of cross-training may be beneficial, and that would be something that the city manager would have to look into because that's outside of my purview.
Thank you. All right, I'm going to give you one last 3-minute question before we go into my rapid fire one answer questions and then your closing. And this question has to do, I cannot moderate a forum without bringing up this term. Candidate Rostek, and please tell your constituents what is your take or how do you value tourism in your community?
Tourism is a huge income resource for the city. The only negative I've heard, and I've looked at the different parking fees from the different beach towns, ours is not the worst. So parking wise, you know, I think that's not a legitimate gripe. But the tourism, that's top notch. We have to have the best beaches. John's Pass is always clean. It's always welcoming. So, I mean, tourism, I mean, that's why we're here. I mean, it's our beach town is a 10 out of 10 and we have to keep it that way. But tourism has to be job one, coinciding with the residents that they want the beaches to be as nice all the time also. So tourism's got to be the 10 out of 10.
And Commissioner Andrews?
Question, Robin? I've never heard this one before.
You're being sarcastic, I
A
hope?
little bit, but I'd like to hear the
You
question
know,
again.
yeah, your take and how do you value tourism in the city of Madeira Beach?
Well, you know, I guess I'm a little biased, owning a business here and watching the development in the past 11 years. You know, it's been tremendous. And so here's the thing. I think a lot of people, and Jim's kind of hit on this, and I think we need to hit on it a little bit more. The town has changed. Okay, we have gone from a city where, you know, we were a sleepy little fishing village or what have you, and now we've turned into a tourist attraction. Okay, being ranked number 9 by TripAdvisor as the 9th ranked beach in the country, which blows my mind with beaches in Hawaii and California and the likes of that on the list. It blows me my mind, but it's such a fun topic to even go over. Your property taxes, your millage rate that you guys pay every year is low for one reason and one reason alone. The reason we can continue to run this city as effectively and efficiently as possible and not end up in debt is because of tourism and the money that we make from parking revenues. Remember, we're not the federal government, man. We can't go out and borrow $31 trillion. If we borrow money, people are knocking on our door the next day to make sure that we're paying our debt off. So tourism is a big thing. And I think a lot of people around in town lose sight of the fact that the tourists are just a monumental part of this. One thing, how much time do I have, Rob?
You have 1 minute, 30 seconds.
Wonderful, good. So, and I'm going to hit on this real quick. So Jim was talking about parking rates earlier. So for years, every time we were lazy, for years, every time we needed more money in the budget, we'd raise parking rates and we'd throw it in the general fund and we really wouldn't be able to keep track of it and lose it. So about 15 months ago, I proposed, after we were talking about, we wanted to get even with the other cities, a 50-cent increase in parking revenues. And I said I'd agree to it if we segregated that money and put it into a parking garage fund, okay? Parking garage fund to be built near John's Pass, right across kind of from the Bamboo, public lot, 5 stories, okay? In 1 year, that fund is raised, and I didn't fib, I just got the wrong information. I said $600,000, $500,000. This parking garage is going to be built on the backs of tourist wallets, not your taxpayer dollar, okay? That's a big thing, guys, because at the end of the day, this thing will be paid for in no time. And we will have that revenue for eternity, okay? And once this is paid for, that's revenue for eternity. The one thing I've stressed since I've been here is we've got to find new revenue sources. Golden Goose, we just landed a big one, Okay. Johns Pass isn't going away. Johns Pass ain't getting smaller. And the one major concern that everybody has about Johns Pass is the lack of parking. We're going to solve that and we're going to benefit from it. And all you are going to benefit from it, from keeping your millage rate low. Thanks.
So loosen the ties, gentlemen. This is where we like to have a little bit of fun. And I have 5 statements that I'm going to present to you. And all you have to do is pick one or the other. Sound cool? Up for it? All right. So I'm just going to go like this, back and forth. All right. Sunrise or sunset?
Sunrise.
Sunset.
Grouper or mahi?
Grouper.
Grouper.
Thank God, we'd kick both of you out. Fishing or sanding?
Fishing.
Fishing.
Rays or bucks?
Neither.
Oh.
I wanted to wait till
You reached the
crowd.
road.
I wanted to wait till the crowd got done
Maybe
booing.
it's Tiger Woods, I don't know.
Right. I raise. I'm not a Bucks fan. Yeah. There you go.
Coffee or cocktails?
Coffee.
Cocktails.
Right, thank you. So this is where you have your opportunity for your 5-minute closing. And since we started with candidate Rostek, we'll start with Commissioner Andrews for, let me just reset this clock. And to go.
Robin, thank you. You know, my qualifications kind of speak for themselves, and I'm not going to go over them again. One thing, I want to tell you a quick story. So I've got a buddy of mine who is a lawyer, and what he does, he handles arbitration. So he takes big companies that are merging and he kind of finds common ground. And it's a tougher job than you think. But we were talking the other day, and he says to me, he goes, "Why in the heck are you doing this again after what you've been through over the past 4 years?" And I laughed and I said, "Of course, for the money." But, you know, so we were joking around about it. And he goes, "No, seriously, do you want to build a legacy? Do you want to do something like that?" And I started laughing. I go, "Well, when I got involved, my legacy was to clean the town up. I wanted to get rid of the collusion, want to get rid of the corruption, want to get rid of the face licking." And we've done that. And, you know, if you pick up the Beach Beacon, like I said, we used to be the dysfunctional children. Now we are, you know, we're the jewel of the beach again. And we like that. We like the direction that the city's going. And you should like the direction the city's going, because it's going great. So then he says to me, so he goes, "So what do you really want your legacy to be?" And I said, "Well, I want it to be unity. I really do." And he laughed. He goes, "Every politician wants it to be unity." And I said, "Yeah, you're right. But you know what? You can't achieve unity in New York City. You can't achieve unity in LA or Chicago or even Tampa. But here we have 4,000 residents. How hard would it be for all of us to get our oars in the water and row the same way?" And I thought about it. And I also go, you know, I also want to kick back to the 70s, right? When it was love thy neighbor, right? You didn't call code compliance. You didn't call the cops. You went next door. I remember my dad, when I was a kid, you know, we had a neighbor, and he walked over to the neighbor, went and got 2 beers out of the fridge, walked over to the neighbor, said, "Hey, Pete, your dog keeps pooping on my yard." They drink a beer, they laughed. We never had problems with dog pooping on the street, on the yard anymore. Another time said, "Oh, the tree's growing in their yard." They drank a beer, never had problems with the bush overgrowing. And the real problem was he had a son. This guy Pete had a son named Andrew, and he's my nemesis to my rest of my day. In like 3rd grade, the guy was 6'8", 280 pounds, right? And he used to beat my butt every day. And my dad walked over to Pete, and he goes, "Pete," gives him a beer. He goes, "Your son touches my son again, I'm going to punch you in the throat." Never had a problem with Andrew after that. So, you know, dealing with your neighbors and being cordial is going to help us out a lot. But it's all about, you know, finding common ground. That's what my buddy told me. He goes, "For unity, you got to find common ground." Do we have common ground? I'd say so, right? Nobody wants skyscrapers here. Nobody wants Clearwater Beach. Nobody's going to bulldoze Johns Pass, right? No, you know, we all want our streets safe. We all want to get rid of, you know, any kind of drug problems that we have here. We all want to go in the right direction, okay? We want to keep our millage rate low. All right. We also, you know, eventually we want to underground utilities so that when the wind blows, your internet and your cable doesn't go out. Okay. We can do that. Unity is achievable, and we're a lot closer than you guys think. You know, I'm going to end with just a quick quote, and it's one I've always admired and I always thought about. We just celebrated his birthday, and Dr. Martin Luther King had obviously a lot bigger battle with unity than we're facing, trying to get 4,000 people on the same page. But Martin Luther King once said, he goes, "We must live together as brothers or perish together as fools." I'm Doug Andrews. I'm running for mayor. Thank you.
You. And go ahead.
In closing, I will be the advocate for fiscal responsibility through the city manager's office, through the commissioners. Controlling development, I will vote no on any special favors. Please build within the confines of the laws and ordinances. These laws and ordinances are there to protect the ambiance of the city. The variances for residential uses are a separate matter and have their own guidelines outside the purview of the commission. I will be an advocate through the same medium, which is the commissioners and the city manager, to enhance the stormwater management procedures. I will be equal representation for all. Greater citizen involvement of the city with the citizens has got to be a paramount importance to everyone, because if you don't say anything, nothing's going to change. I had talked previously about the same-day permit process. It's done elsewhere. It can easily be done here. Things just have to be tweaked through the city manager's office. The one thing I will change, it's in the mayor's handbook, and I find it appalling that you have 3 minutes. The commissioners can only stand there and look at you and cannot respond back. I will change that to a reasonable time frame with a short amount of time for a summation, and it'll be a two-way street where the city manager and the commissioners will make note of your problems and report back to you their findings. That's how we open this line of communication, not in the current format that we have. And I really don't need all the entire amount of time, but I want to just a couple extra points to make. I have not, will not be taking any campaign donations from anyone. I'm doing this on my own. And the mayor's salary, if I'm elected, is donated to the American Legion, Elks, VFW, and the fire department. I challenge my opponent to offer the same, to donate a salary. I thank everyone for coming, and those that are watching on cable, just get out there and vote. Let your voices be heard. Thank you.
Okay, gentlemen, I do know that we have members of the press here, so that I would encourage you that if you can stick around in case they want to speak to you. Also, candidate Rostek, do you have a website or any information you'd like to state right now for everyone sitting here, or anyone watching, that they can visit to see your campaign?
That is correct. It's jimrostek.polyengine.com. P-O-L-I-N-G, engine. Can't speak, I'm dry. Polyengine.com. Polyengine.com.
Thank you.
That's
And Commissioner Andrews?
Thank you, Robin. It is DougAndrewsForMayor.com.
Thank you.
Mhm.
And then one of the things that I do like to just wrap up with is that, we all heard a lot of really great points here today. We also heard a little bit soft slinging to each other. I just want to leave you all here with some parting words that I hope resonate to the constituents that are listening before they go and fill in their ballot or go to the polls to vote. Businesses, protections, leadership, infrastructure, safety, tourism, expansion, residents, input, collaboration, and balance. So good luck to each of you, and we will see you soon. Thank you.